Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Fins Nation. I'm your host, Louis Sung, and today we are joined by a very good friend of mine, Mr. Chad Ronnebaum, who is a frequent guest over at the Pulse of Fins Nation. How are you, Chad?
Working on getting my mic muted. I'm doing good, Louis. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no problem. So just a little insider information, folks. This is actually the second time we're attempting to do this show. We're having some technical difficulties on the inside, but we're going to get all that squared away right now. We want to talk about some things we've technically already talked about with Ron Caniff, but I want to get Chad's point of view because we're all in this little group circle of friends that basically talk about Dalvin Cook day and night now. That seems to be the main topic of discussion right now because more and more stuff just keeps coming up to kind of give proof to both sides of the story. We keep hearing more about how Devon Achane is impressing in OTAs and how incredible he's been so far, how much respect he's gained from the likes of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle with just how impressed with just how good he is playing in those drills. Also, Savon Ahmed got the orange jersey, which is the symbol of I was the best player at practice today. So you would have to wonder if Savon Ahmed is getting that kind of recognition, do you even need Dalvin Cook? But then on the other side of the spectrum, my side of the spectrum, which is the one that says that Dalvin Cook will eventually be a Miami Dolphin, we're getting things from Nick Hicks, the trainer who's been training Dalvin Cook since feels like the dawn of time at this point. I honestly have no idea when they started working together, but they have been for quite some time. He's also Tua's trainer. So it's very clear that they have some kind of connection together. And then, of course, the whole discussion about DeAndre Hopkins suddenly being released from the Arizona Cardinals, that it may do something to Dalvin Cook's market. We'll explain why in just a few minutes. But before that, really quick, just want to go ahead and mention that this show is brought to you, as always, by our good friends over at You Brake Wheel Fix. You Brake Wheel Fix is the ultimate and complete automotive wheel solution. Ever parked too close to the sidewalk curb? You Brake Wheel Fix specializes in the repair of damaged wheels from bends, cracks, and curb rash. Or maybe your wheels are faded or peeling. You don't need to replace them, as You Brake Wheel Fix can refinish them to like new. Offering complete refinish options through powder coating, machining, and polishing, You Brake Wheel Fix is the answer to all of your wheel needs. And if you're just looking to give your ride a new look, You Brake Wheel Fix also offers many car customizing options, such as new custom wheels and tires from your favorite brands, performance upgrades, window tinting, and suspension modifications. Located just south of Aventura, you can reach Mark and his staff at 305-748-0112 or online at youbrakewheelfix.com. They are really active on all social media platforms at You Brake Wheel Fix, so shoot them a DM on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter and get an estimate in just minutes. So don't delay, go to You Brake Wheel Fix and start customizing your ride to show off your Dolphins fandom today. This show is also brought to you by PrizePicks.com. PrizePicks.com is a revolutionary fantasy platform where you can now pick up to 6 different players across professional sports leagues. Whether that's the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, one of each, it's up to you to decide. Just choose whether your chosen player will get more or less than their projected stat. They give you free squares, special Taco Tuesday promos, Flex Friday specials where you can get your money back if you lose, or multiply the amount of money you can normally win. So with offers like that, it's hard to justify not signing up. So use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. Again, this promo code 5, FIVE. Go to PrizePicks.com, deposit your $100, and let PrizePicks give you $100 of their dollars for you to play with and get started winning today. All right, Chad. So we're going to go ahead and just briefly discuss this. Well, not so briefly. This is the topic of the show, after all. So Dalvin Cook, once again, we're having this discussion. Will he be a Miami Dolphin? Does he want to be a Miami Dolphin? Do the Miami Dolphins want him? Because in some ways, this is kind of similar to the whole Jordan Poyer thing, where Jordan Poyer was basically holding up a neon sign that says, Miami, sign me. But then the offer that the Dolphins gave him was so low that he decided, you know what, I'm just going to go back to Buffalo. Thanks anyway. So now we have the Dalvin Cook situation. And as we already discussed, Nick Hicks seems to be pushing more and more that Dalvin Cook is going to be a Miami Dolphin. Dalvin Cook is being seen in photos of him wearing like a Dolphins t-shirt. Nick Hicks is putting out tweets of pictures of Dalvin making a weird face, saying that the face that I make when people say that I'm going anywhere else other than the place that I want to go, which it seems to be more and more likely the place that he wants to go beyond anywhere else is Miami. Now, again, the problem becomes Savon Ahmed. You just saw him get the orange jersey that says he was the best. We're hearing that Devon Achane is proving to be an incredibly spectacular player, at least without the pads on. But nevertheless, you have these two fighting factors going head to head against each other. And I wanted to get your thoughts on the whole thing, because depending on what your point of view is, you either do not need Dalvin Cook, which is what Ron Caniff is saying, because Devon Achane is there. You feel like Dalvin Cook is overkill, or you really want Dalvin Cook, which is my position, because I feel like he commands a certain level of respect from defensive coordinators that the other three running backs that we're looking at don't necessarily have. Devon Achane might command that someday, but not yet. So I want to get your thoughts on the whole thing.
I think to summarize what you just said, I think yes, Miami wants him, and yes, he wants to go to Miami. I think that's true. I think beyond that, what's realistic, and so what I was where I was at is I think after June 1st, the Vikings are going to cut uh, Dalvin Cook under his existing contract. So one option for him will be to restructure his contract. Everything I'm hearing, I do believe he understands that his market has changed. That his current contract's probably not going to happen with another team. If it were, somebody would have just gave up like a seventh round pick or something and just took it over. So he's going to have to take probably less money. What Miami's willing to pay him and what his expectations are, I don't know that they even know that. And so I think, assuming he gets cut after June 1st, he's in Miami. He's going to immediately come into the building, and they're going to have a discussion on two fronts. You're going to have Mike McDaniel discuss with him what his role would be in this offense. And then you're going to have Chris Grier discuss with him what Miami's able to give him contractually. On the contract part, I think if he'll play for $5 million with incentives, that Miami will make that work. If he wants more than $5 million guaranteed for the upcoming season, I don't think they'll do it. They don't have the need to pay that much money with their salary cap situation. But I don't know what the rest of the league will offer him. He probably doesn't know that either. He clearly wants to be in Miami. I think that's true. But maybe there'll be a team out there that'll offer him like 8 or 9 million guaranteed. Miami can only do 4 or 5. So that question comes: does Dalvin Cook want to be in Miami that bad, or does the money talk? And you also have to keep in mind, like a team like out of state that's offering him 6 or 7 million a year, may not be truly that much more than Miami offer him 4 or 5 because we don't have state income tax. So there's factors like that involved. In terms of how he fits in, he is going to be better than Mostert or Wilson as a starting running back, assuming he's fully healthy. It sounds like he's fully healthy. He's more explosive and he's faster. So I see the appeal to bring him in and kind of play into that role. So I think, though, I don't think Miami's going to move any of their 4 running backs. So if Dalvin Cook's realistic, my belief is they're going to move on from Cedric Wilson in some fashion and only keep 5 wide receivers and keep 5 running backs. And they're going to consider Achane as a guy that can play both some slot receiver and also play running back, and he'll be on the field in different ways. If you look at it that way, then Dalvin Cook's just one of our 4 running backs. And Mike McDaniel, one thing you do know with his track record is he likes a running back by committee situation. He is not I want to bring in a bell cow running back that's going to run the ball 20, 30 times. So that's where it comes in at is Dalvin Cook really going to be comfortable with getting 5 to 10 touches a game? Because that's probably what he's looking at in Miami, because Mostert's going to get some touches. Wilson's going to get some touches. I don't think Ahmed will probably be on the field too much if they bring in Dalvin Cook. But either way, he's not going to come in and he's not going to be a superstar running back in the league anymore if he's coming to Miami. This isn't where he doesn't want to come to Miami if he wants to be the guy that's trying to lead the league in rushing or something like that. That's not going to happen here. I do believe out of all of our running backs, Achane is going to be on the field the most because he's going to play different positions. And just keep in mind, Mike McDaniel likes to move guys around in motion all the time, and he loves speed because it throws the defense out of whack because you're trying to shift around when you see these players moving. And so you're going to see Achane like jump over to a slot receiver out of the backfield or move from slot receiver into the backfield and things like that because he's so fast he can do that. So I just think that's going to put him on the field more in Mike McDaniel's offense. I see Dalvin Cook more as a guy that's going to be somebody they're going to pound the rock with and stuff like that. So anyway, yeah, I think that summarizes it pretty well. In terms of do I think it's going to happen, I'm giving it 50-50. I think if that's where Dalvin Cook's mindset's at, they'll make it work. I think Miami definitely wants him if he's willing to come in that capacity. Again, as a 5 to 10 touch a game guy at $5 million a year, they'll take him. Yeah.
So now I'll ask this because we were talking about this in our little chat too, the whole DeAndre Hopkins thing. Now,
Right.
DeAndre Hopkins getting released, you would think, oh, it's a wide receiver and a running back. It's like comparing apples to oranges. No, because salary cap doesn't care what position you are. So now you have a DeAndre Hopkins. And there are a bunch of teams out there that would absolutely love to be able to get their hands on a Dalvin Cook, but they would also love to get their hands on a DeAndre Hopkins. One of the teams that I had looked at that was saying, oh, well, their running back room is absolutely pathetic and they would love to get Dalvin Cook, I was actually looking at was the Chicago Bears. You would think the Bears, they don't have a running back that's worth mentioning, or at the very least, there's nobody there who's like a household name. You look up the Chicago Bears roster, and I know they've been trying to put some pieces around Justin Fields. They want to give him the best possible chance at becoming the star running back. Oh my God, you see what I just did? I call him a running back because that's what he does. He runs most of the time, but he's the star quarterback that everybody believes he can be. But right now, what he has at running back is Roshan Johnson, who's a rookie, Travis Homer, Khalil Herbert, Deonta Foreman, and I understand Deonta Foreman's a veteran, but he's not somebody that just is like, oh, everybody's scared of Deonta Foreman. Better make sure you stop him. The other guy's name is Treston Ebner. So yeah, there's room for a Dalvin Cook on that team, I would think. And then your wide receiver room, though, that looks a little bit different. So you have DJ Moore there, so that's something. Darnell Mooney, Doris Fountain, Chase Claypool. They went ahead and got him. But if you could imagine that you could possibly pair Chase Claypool and DJ Moore with DeAndre Hopkins, they have a lot of cap space. They could sign DeAndre Hopkins for the kind of contract that he'd be looking for. But can the Bears afford to sign Hopkins and Dalvin Cook, or would they have to choose between the two? How much money are they going to be giving up to DeAndre Hopkins in year one? They can make it work. They could, but would they be willing to is the real question here. Whoever signs DeAndre Hopkins is going to have to dedicate a lot of their cap space in year one. So I don't know, whichever team picks up Hopkins, that I would imagine that leaves them out of the running for Dalvin Cook, assuming Cook even wants to go there, because as a free agent, he gets to choose where he lands.
Well, I mean that comes up to cap space and what the teams are willing to do. I think both Dalvin Cook and DeAndre Hopkins, both those players have made a lot of money already in their careers, and so I think um, all things considered, it would have to be a substantial amount of money, or they want to go to a team that might win a Super Bowl. That's where they want to go, and so I think that's why Dalvin Cook. I mean, he lives down in Miami and he has a lot of friends in Miami and on the roster. He knows Miami's a Super Bowl contender, and DeAndre Hopkins is going to be the same way. He's going to go to a team that gives him the best chance to win. But Devon, DeAndre Hopkins is going to be entrenched in, like he's got kind of an agent that's that way, and he's going to want 20 million a year, and so he's in no rush at all to sign with somebody. Whereas I think Dalvin Cook's going to move fairly quickly. I think he wants to get signed and get that squared away. But you'll probably see DeAndre Hopkins get like a 3 or 4 year deal, even though he is right. I think he's 30. I'm not sure. Maybe he's 31, but he's around that age. But you could probably look at DeAndre Hopkins and say, yeah, we could probably get 3 solid years out of that guy. Whereas
As of
Dalvin
right
Cook,
now, As of
oh,
right
go
now,
ahead.
DeAndre Hopkins is 30 years old. He will be 31 in June 6th.
Yeah, but see, he's a receiver. He's a boundary receiver. So assuming he still has, elite speed, he probably does. You can feel comfortable he can play another 2, 3 years, very, very likely. Just because they don't take the pounding that a back takes. Whereas Dalvin Cook, he's probably, you got to wonder how long is he going to be elite yet, with the number of carries he has. And running backs, that's just the reality of the NFL. They get pounded. And so it's hard to keep them healthy. And very few running backs anymore in the NFL play much past 30. They're done at that age. And Dalvin Cook's in that range right now. Is how many years does he have left? So I'm just saying that because I don't think there's going to be a team come in and say we'll give you a 3 year guaranteed contract. He's probably going to be considered a 1 or 2 year type rental, whereas Hopkins is probably going to get that from somebody. I bring that up because I don't think either player would necessarily consider the Bears right now. I mean, that division's kind of open, but nobody out there probably views the Bears right now as a Super Bowl contender. They're just trying to get, over 500 and be a playoff team. That's where they're trying to get to right now. They're not.
And
I don't think they're in that. So the teams to watch for both Cook and, in my mind, and Hopkins would be like Buffalo, Kansas City, maybe Baltimore. You gotta look for a team that's a Super Bowl contender that might have a need at one of those spots. And I think Hopkins is gonna be way more in demand because, I mean, you think of a team like, say, Buffalo, and you have Stephon Diggs, bringing in DeAndre Hopkins changes your offense dramatically. Whereas you bring in Dalvin Cook, how much more lethal is Buffalo with him versus not having him? So I do think, though, it does impact a little, because maybe somebody like Buffalo has a little cap space and they want a Dalvin Cook, but they want DeAndre Hopkins way more. So they're gonna wait to try to get their hands on DeAndre Hopkins because they want to win a Super Bowl and they got to make a play for him. So they may be a little tentative to give Dalvin Cook money right now. Whereas Miami, I'd be absolutely stunned if they were interested in DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, their receiver room already loaded. They're not interested in him. So they're one of those teams right now that are a Super Bowl contender that can immediately just sign Cook and add him to the roster as another piece. That makes sense.
it does make sense. And so now the other thing that you mentioned, yeah, Buffalo, I would imagine that they're in play for Dalvin Cook. There's also, yeah, they're a Super Bowl contender, whether we like it or not. And of course, there is also the possibility of playing with his brother, James Cook. So there is also that to consider, the family aspect of it. But that's the thing that I'm wondering about Dalvin Cook, because if he really wants to come to Miami, is he coming to Miami because he wants to come home? Is he coming to Miami because he wants to push for a Super Bowl? Because there are people out there, not everybody in some very, very few. I know that Louis Riddick from ESPN, he's saying that he thinks the Miami Dolphins are going to win the AFC East. Everybody's laughing at him every time he says it, but he believes it. So take that for what you will. So, but that means that other teams are probably looking at the Dolphins and saying, you guys are a hot destination right now. So the other thing I would like to possibly come up with, and I never talked about this particularly with Ron, but could Dalvin Cook want to come to Miami specifically because of the factors you brought up? Because he wouldn't be getting the rock 20 times a game. He wouldn't be putting all this extra tread on his tires. Maybe he knows that, hey, I'm not going to have much longer of a career if I keep getting pounded like this. I'm not Derrick Henry. So could he maybe want to come to Miami to become more of a role player so that way he can get his ring and then he can say that he was a Super Bowl champion and not have to carry the whole load, as it were?
Oh yeah, I think for sure, Lewis. I think the appeal is a few. I do think Dalvin Cook, obviously he's training with Hicks right now. So I mean, there's one thing. He's down here. He trains. I think he lives here. I think he lives in not here. I don't live in Florida, but I think he lives down in Florida. And so I think there's some convenience. I don't know anything about his personal life, if he's married or has a family or anything, but if that is the case, then there is an appeal to being close, to not have to move all the way across the country or something like that. There's no state tax, and I think he genuinely likes the offensive scheme. He likes that they're competitive. I think he likes that he has friends on the team. And so, if you're talking about a couple $1 million, I think those things aren't enough to sway him to leave if Miami works out for him. So I would kind of float the numbers. What you're looking for is, if somebody's going to pay him 8 to 9 million or more per year, he'll probably go there. If nobody in the league is going to offer him 8 to 9 million guaranteed per year, I think he's going to just say, I'll just take the 5 in Miami and stay put, because there's a lot of intangible benefits for it. So I really think that's where it's at. I think they'll work it out contractually. I think the bigger question is, he's been a superstar since he's pretty much been in the league, and he's not going to be anything but a 5 or 10 carry guy in Miami. That's just how he'll get used. So to me, that's the bigger question: is he okay with that at this point in his career? Because some guys are, like, some guys don't need, as they get into their later 20s, they don't want the spotlight. They want to play another 5, 6 years in the league. That's what Mostert does right now. Mostert knows by coming into Miami, he's not going to get 20 carries a game, but he also knows that, I might only get 5 or 10, but I also can play a few more years, not getting the abuse to my body. And so that's kind of where I wonder if maybe Dalvin Cook is a little bit, where he's like, I would like to just get 5 or 10 carries a game and be on that team. It'll be a lot of fun, do a lot of fun things, but I don't, have to go in and get my head pounded in every week at 20 carries a game.
Okay. And basically, yeah, that's where I'm looking at it from this perspective. If Dalvin Cook wants to preserve his career coming to Miami, playing with Mike McDaniel in a running back friendly offense with a presumably anyway, running back friendly blocking scheme, depends on how well they block, but we'll get into that another time. I feel like Dalvin Cook's best possibility, best fit per se, would be Miami, and it seems he wants to come to Miami. So, assuming he doesn't want to cost a fortune, he could find himself in Miami sooner rather than later. But just to be on the record, are you more on the side of me or more on the side of Ron? Because again, I want Dalvin Cook because I think he brings something to the offense Miami doesn't have. Ron doesn't want Dalvin Cook because he doesn't think he's needed, and Devon Achane just gets snaps taken away from him. Where are you standing?
I don't agree that he's taking snaps away from Achane. I think he's going to be used in different ways. I do think he would take them away from Mostert and Wilson. That's where the snaps would come from. But I 100% think Dalvin Cook wants Miami and Miami wants Dalvin Cook. 100%. And I'm on board with getting him. What I don't think has happened is there's been any real conversation because it's been tampering. And so,
That definitely will not happen. They already learned their lesson once
right.
on that.
But
But Nick Hicks, on the other hand, is not affiliated with the Dolphins,
no,
and apparently he
Nick
knows
Hicks
something.
he's trying to help out a guy he's training. That's what he's doing. He knows that Dalvin Cook wants to be in Miami, so he's selling him right now. Like, hell yeah, I want to be in Miami. So I mean, it's really going to come down to, again, I mean, I'm repeating myself. Will Dalvin Cook be interested and excited to be what his role will be in Miami, which is a discussion with Mike McDaniel, and will they be able to work out the contract? And there's the only way I don't think is going to happen. I think it's probably going to happen just because both sides I think are keen to do it. But the only way it won't happen is if there's some team like the Bears who are desperate and say, look, we need this guy this year. Like, we do not have the back we need. Let's offer him 13 million guaranteed or something like that. And they'll come in. So they're offering him substantial amount more money than Miami. Then he's got to consider it and say, look, that's so much more money. I'm just going to go play for the Bears because I'm just going to take my 13 million, which is understandable. So that, to me, that's the real question. It's not whether Miami wants him or he wants Miami. It's what is the market going to set him at? So I don't know that. I don't see a team at his age and injury history, the way teams view running backs, offering him more than a year or two contract with a lower amount of guaranteed money. But I've been surprised before, so who knows?
Well, to be fair, the San Francisco 49ers paid a pretty penny to be able to get their hands on Christian McCaffrey. And he has more injury history than almost anybody I can remember at this point.
Yeah, but Christian McCaffrey does a lot more things than Dalvin Cook does. I mean, he's a really special. I mean, that's more like the role that you're going to have with Achane. Like, if McCaffrey were in the conversation, I'd say no, because that's the kind of stuff that Achane is going to be doing in Miami. But to me, Dalvin Cook is just a guy, like, if they want to put in the fullback and pound the rock a bit, he's just a guy that, if you open up a hole, he can take it to the house. Whereas I don't know that Jeff Wilson could take it to the house. He's really fast if he's healthy. So is Mostert though too. So Ron is right in the sense this is by no means we need to get Dalvin Cook to try to make a Super Bowl run. It's just one of these circumstances where he would upgrade the position a little bit and he wants to be here. And so you just come out and you say, here's what we can do to have you here. Do you want to or not? And I think more than likely he wants to be here that bad that he'll probably do it. Assuming Miami doesn't offer him a ridiculous low ball offer like 1 or 2 million a year or something like that. But as long as I think they get up to that 5 million range, that they'll make it work.
Yeah, if they offered him like a deal like they gave Mostert and Wilson, I think that would be an insult to Dalvin Cook because neither Mostert or Wilson have done what Dalvin Cook has done in this league.
No, they're both solid backs, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if you take 5 carries away from Jeff Wilson or 10 carries away from Jeff Wilson and you put that in Dalvin Cook's hands, that's potentially 30, 40 more yards. That's potentially a score that Wilson's probably not going to be able to do. It's just, I don't know what Jeff Wilson's 40 time is, but I don't think he's probably more than a 4.5, 4.6 type speed guy. He's a hard runner. I like him. I like his running style, but again, when you have Tyreek Hill, Waddle on the field, maybe Achane on the field, all at the same time, when you throw Dalvin Cook in there, that's what you're talking about, Lewis. That's another problem you got to worry about as a defensive coordinator, where it's like, I'm thinking I might cheat a little because if Jeff Wilson breaks through a hole, he's probably only going to get 15, 20 yards and we'll get him tackled. Whereas Dalvin Cook's going to outrun my safeties and corners and take it to the house. And so you have to really worry about the guy. And everything I'm hearing is he's healthy again. And if that's true, yeah, I mean, we're trying to win a Super Bowl here, and why not add a player that's another explosive, dynamic guy? If he's willing to work within the framework, what we can do.
That's how I'm looking at it. All right, man. We're going to go ahead and call it here. Thank you for joining me here. For anybody who hasn't already done so, make sure you're going to check out You Brake Wheel Fix. They're the complete automotive wheel solution. If you're having any issues with your wheels, you can go ahead and get them fixed up by them. Or if you just want to give your ride a new look, you can go ahead and call them at 305-748-0112. Also go to prizepicks.com, use the promo code 5, that's FIVE, and they will match up to $100 on your initial deposit when you sign up. So go ahead and get started winning today. Once again, Chad, thank you for joining me, my friend. It's always good to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Always like it.
All right, and we will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Fins Nation.